Hi, class. I want to introduce the N.T. Wright text to you and kind of put it in context. So, over the first few weeks, we've been looking at moral psychology, the very natural way in which humans make moral decisions, moral judgments. They often are emotional, instinctual, and habitual. Some of our moral decisions come from like our cognitive sort of conscious frontal lobe, where we process, we think about how we might hurt people, and then we make a choice with it. But many of our moral judgments and many of our moral decisions are much quicker than that, and very rapid. My tone of voice, my facial expression of impatience, like so many moral interactions that are just come from my elephant, not my rider. So we've been talking some about this. Well, what is to be done? If this is how human beings function, if there's some truth to what Jonathan Haidt and Richard Beck are saying, well, then what should we do about it? One option, not the only option, but one option is to turn to virtue ethics. And that's what we're going to be doing as you read N.T. Wright. Virtue ethics gets its origin from Aristotle, and it's a way of looking at morality that is not decision-based. It's not rule-based, in other words, a bunch of moral rules or principles. Rather, it's character-based. So Aristotle believed, do the kinds of things that help shape you into a good, virtuous person of integrity, and then you'll know what to do when the situation arises. You don't need a rule. You don't need punishment or reward. Your actions will come from inside of you because you've developed virtuous character. So it's much more about forming our virtues and our character than it is about being, pro-death penalty or anti-immigration or pro-abortion or whatever. It's not. Virtue ethics is not a set of beliefs. It's a method for developing character. So N.T. Wright makes the argument, and he's essentially using Aristotle. So you're going to see in the first two chapters, he's going to reference Aristotle a ton, that what Christians need to be doing is focusing on character development. Once you become a Christian, now what? Am I just waiting to die so I can go to heaven? N.T. Wright, who's a Methodist, he's sort of in the Wesleyan tradition, the Wesleyan holiness tradition, he makes the argument, no, you're not just waiting to die. Once you become a Christian, your goal is to become Christ-like, to pursue holiness. You're trying to bring about the kingdom of God, to participate in God's redemptive work in the world, right? And so how do we do that? Well, we develop Christ-like character. We develop Christian character. And so a lot of the virtue ethics, a lot of the stuff I want you to think about in terms of connecting N.T. Wright and Aristotle back to Haidt and Beck, is if I want to become a more moral person in the world, I'm going to have to train my elephant. I have to train my elephant in such a way that my natural impulses are more in line with the human being I want to be, right? So willpower and my frontal lobe and really thinking about my moral decisions will only get me so far. It will be helpful, but it'll only get me so far. If I really want to take the next step in my moral development, in our pursuit of Christian holiness, then we're going to have to do things that train our character, that train our elephant, so that I'm patient more naturally, that I'm generous more naturally, that my integrity comes out because it's inside of me. I'm not always fighting myself. It's not my elephant wants to do one thing because I have these strong desires, but I know as a Christian I shouldn't do those things, and so I've got this battle between System 1 and System 2, right? Aristotle in Virtue Ethics argues we can bring System 1 and System 2 in line with each other so that I'm not fighting myself, but in fact my very nature is to do the kinds of things I want more naturally because of the character I've developed. So that's sort of how I want you to think about connecting N.T. Wright with our previous material. I think it's going to be an interesting section. This is going to be the first theologian that we cover. So he's a Bible scholar by trade, N.T. Wright is, and he's addressing sort of Christian ethics in this text.